Hello everybody. I am Mrs. Kashifa Sheikh from Marathwada College of Education. I am assistant professor and I am presenting my presentation, the assignment given by UGC-HRDC of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University, Aurangabad. My today's topic of presentation is constructivism. It is quite a new approach of teaching and learning. So we will today start to understand what is constructivism actually. According to various philosophers and teachers like Giambattista Vico, he was the philosopher 1710. He said, "We can know nothing that we have not made." This is quite experimental approach, that we can know nothing that we have not made. जो हमने बनाया ही नहीं, हम उसके बारे में कुछ नहीं जानते. It means that we have to make something to understand the things. Another definition given by Van Glaserfield, philosopher, 1989, knowledge is not passively received but actively built up by the cognizing subject, and the function of cognition is adaptable and serves the organization of experiential world, not the discovery of ontological reality. The next definition is given by Brunner. He was the educator, famous psychologist and educator. Constructivism is a learning theory in which learning is seen as an active process in which learners construct new ideas or concepts based upon their current and past knowledge. Martin Dogmeis, the IT technologist, in 1998 defines constructivism as constructivism is building on knowledge known by the student. Education is student-centered. Students have to construct knowledge by themselves. Explanation can use metacognition to explain via metaphor. Semiotics or meanings of word are important to keep in mind. Constructivism is a theory, a tool, a lens for examining educational practices. Now, we will discuss about the guiding principles of constructivism. There are various guiding principles. We will discuss one by one. Guiding principles. Number one, knowledge is constructed, not transmitted. As our old saying that knowledge is transmitted, the constructivism has a little different idea. Knowledge is constructed, not transmitted. Now, the second is prior knowledge is important in the learning process. So whatever knowledge we gain through our senses, it is called as prior knowledge, and it impacts the learning process. The next is initial understanding is local, not the global. Then next principle is building useful knowledge structures requires effortful and purposeful activity. Two main ideas of constructivism. After principles, we will discuss the two main ideas of constructivism. One, the learner is not a passive entity, but an active cognizing subject. And knowledge cannot be transmitted from one learner to another. Learners have to construct this knowledge by themselves, by acquiring knowledge through their senses, by activity, by whatever means they are adopting. They acquire the knowledge by themselves, and it is not transmitted by the other individual. And the next function is the function of cognition is not the discovery or representation of the world, but adaptation. Here, whatever old sayings that we understand and then we discover the things, but here in the theory of constructivism, adaptation is most important thing. That is to say that cognition performs the function of the organizing the learner's experiences of the world. Now we will discuss about the types of constructivism. There are various kinds of constructivism given by various theories. The very first is a trivial constructivism or classical constructivism. Then next is radical constructivism based on logic. Then social constructivism or socio-constructivism. It is quite important nowadays. Then next one is cultural constructivism, and last one is critical constructivism. constructivist pedagogical designs. As we belong to the fraternity of education, we will discuss about the constructivist pedagogical designs. Constructivist learning strategies. Actually, pedagogical designs are nothing but learning strategies. Derivatives of pedagogical designs are learning strategies. So there are various learning strategies. Number one, project based learning, or PBL we can say, then problem based learning, and inquiry learning, and web quest and discovery learning. These are the learning strategies given by the constructivist approach. We will take one by one. That is project based learning. Project based learning is a teaching and learning model or curriculum development and instructional approach that emphasizes student centered instruction by assigning projects. It allows the students to work more autonomously to construct their own learning and culminates in realistic student generated products. Next is problem based learning. Problem based learning is defined by Finkel and Top in 1995 as a curriculum development and instructional system that simultaneously develops both problem-solving strategies and disciplinary knowledge, bases, and skills by placing students in the active role of problem solvers confronted with an ill-structured problem that mirrors real-world problem. What skills do students learn through PBL or problem based learning? Then students learn solving real life problems. This is the very first thing, solving real life problems, learning to solve the relevant and contextual problems congruent with workplaces, skills, develop initiative, performance ability, and enthusiasm. Efficient problem solving. The second skill is efficient problem solving. A student develop the ability to find and use appropriate resources for solving their problems. Then independent learning, it is very important thing. It implies the effective self-directed and self-motivated learning skills and proactive thinking to continue learning as a lifetime habit, because learning is a lifetime process. Now, next thing is self-monitoring. Self-monitoring is continuously monitor and assess the adequacy of their own knowledge and of their own problem-solving skills, practice critical thinking, and teamwork. Efficient collaboration as a member of a group, communication and leadership skills, and social and ethical skills. Inquiry-based learning. Inquiry-based learning is IBL. It is a project-oriented pedagogic strategy based on constructivist and socio-constructivist theories of learning. Ick and Reed in 2002. Then inquiry learning is not about memorizing facts. It is about formulation, questions, and finding appropriate resolutions to questions and issues. The next approach is WebQuest. A WebQuest is an inquiry-oriented activity in which most or all of the information used by learner is drawn from the web, optionally supplemented with video conferencing. WebQuests are designed to use learners' time well, to focus on using information rather than looking for it, and to support learners' thinking at the level of analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. These are the analysis, synthesis, and evaluation are the higher mental abilities which are developed through WebQuest. The model was developed in 1995 at San Diego State University by B. Dodge with T. March. There are at least two levels of WebQuest. One is short-term WebQuest, designed to be completed in 1 to 3 class periods, and long-term WebQuest will typically take between 1 week and a month in a classroom setting. Discovery learning approach. Discovery learning refers to various instructional design models that engage students in learning through discovery. Usually, pedagogical aims are threefold. That one, promote deep learning; second, promote metacognitive skills and develop problem solving skills, creativity, etc. And third is promote student engagement. Now, characteristics of a constructivist class. Now we know that what should be the characteristics of a constructivist class. A constructivist classroom is child-centered. Students' prior knowledge is acknowledged and valued by the teacher. Student and teacher are interactive in a constructivist classroom. Others are important in the constructivist classroom. Yes, in the traditional classroom, others are not allowed, but in a constructivist classroom, others are also important. Negotiation is compulsory for constructivist teaching. Process approach is emphasized in constructivist classroom. uh, in this approach, the products are not important, but how we process the knowledge is more important. The next is management of the classroom is democratic. Students learn from whole to part in constructivist classroom. Par in a constructivist classroom is shared, and assessment is interwoven with the teaching learning process. Here is given the difference between traditional and constructivist instruction. Here we are discussing about the difference between traditional and constructivist instructions. In traditional instructional system, curriculum is presented part to whole with the emphasis on basic skills. But in constructivist instruction, curriculum is presented whole to part with the emphasis on big concepts. In traditional one, strict adherence to fixed curriculum is highly valued. We know that we are having a fixed curriculum. In constructivist approach, pursuit of students questions is highly valued. Then in traditional classroom, curricular activities rely heavily on textbook and workbook, whereas in constructivist classroom, curricular activities rely heavily on primary sources of data and manipulative materials. Students are viewed as blank slates in traditional classroom onto which information is fetched by the teacher. But in constructivist instruction, students are viewed as thinkers with emerging theories about the world. In traditional classroom, teachers generally behave in a didactic manner and disseminating information to the students, whereas in a constructivist instruction, teachers generally behave in an interactive manner, mediating the environment for the students. In traditional classroom, teacher seeks the correct answer to validate the student learning, but in constructivist classroom, teacher seeks the student's point of view in order to understand students' present conceptions for use in subsequent lessons. Assessment of students' learning is viewed as a separate from teaching and occurs almost entirely through testing in traditional classroom. But whereas in constructivist classroom, assessment of a student learning is in between interwoven by the teaching and occurs through teacher observation of students at work and through student exhibitions and portfolios. In traditional classroom, students primarily work alone, whereas in constructivist classrooms, students primarily work in groups.